up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball.
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and the Montreal Canadiens lose by a score of 4-1 in Tampa versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Quite frankly, the Canadiens got their ass kicked tonight. And by the way, I know Matheson wasn't playing, and Savard wasn't playing, and Gallagher wasn't playing, and this guy wasn't playing, that guy. I don't care. They're not good enough. Anyone who thought that they were good enough this year, they're going to make the playoffs, and Suzuki this, and Caulfield that, and this and that, and whatever, and they work hard, and they're young, and they're exciting, and they're a team of destiny. They're not making the playoffs. I told you from training camp that at best, bottom 10, but more realistically, bottom 6. That's it. That's what it is. So now you have, the choice to make. You either want them to be in no man's land and finish 10th last and, pick accordingly, or give themselves as good a shot at Connor Bedard as possible. Tonight for me is a fantastic night. It's a fantastic night for a guy who's been talking about the rebuild, who's been talking about tanking, who's been talking about this and that, all that stuff. Trade Jake Allen, trade him right away, because all he's done over the last month or so is steal some points for the Montreal Canadiens, okay? Tonight, Allen was human. The Canadiens went up against a good team. They had 5 young defensemen playing. They were overwhelmed. There was too much for them. Good. Let's continue like that, okay? Trade Jake Allen, trade another player or two. Don't rush anyone back into the lineup. You're not making the playoffs, all right? You're 10 points out of a playoff spot. There's 47 games left, and you know what? Now you understand what we've been talking about when we're talking about Connor Bedard, who was Canada's best player last game in a loss, in scoring a goal, and tonight in a win, 11-2 over Germany, he scores 3, adds 4 assists, picks up 7 points. Everyone started to talk about, this guy might be getting close to Bedard, Fantilli, Michkov, Leo Carlson, this and that. This kid wants no part of it. He doesn't want to hear it. I've never seen a release like this ever. Cole Caulfield's got a great release. Austin Matthews has a great release. Alex Ovechkin has a great release. McGillney had a great release. Bunch of guys have a great release. I've never seen a hockey player have a release, have a wrist shot like this kid. It's unbelievable. This kid is a goal scorer. He's a playmaker. He's a passer. He's a shooter. He's got vision. He's everything all in one. Tonight, he looked like a little bit of Braden Point. He looked like a little bit of Cole Caulfield. He looked a little bit of Alex Ovechkin. He looked like a little bit of Austin Matthews. He looked like a little bit of Steven Stamkos. He looked like a little bit of Sidney Crosby. He looked like a combination of everyone who's great, including Connor McDavid. We can add to that list. He picked up 7 points. He equaled a Team Canada record at the World Juniors tonight. At the same time, the Montreal Canadiens absolutely stunk in Tampa. The power play stunk. The penalty kill stunk. The even strength stunk. Everything absolute. Braden Point went around 4 players. 4. Slavkovsky, Dvorak. I think it was Harris and Edmondson, was it? I'd have to go back and go through that in my head. Was it Harris? I'm not sure if it was Harris. But anyway, he mesmerized even me. He went through 4 players like they weren't even there. And then you're watching the game and you're saying, oh, wow, what a great player. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have another great player like that on your team? Wouldn't it be nice? I think it would be nice. It's a sick podcast, Marinaro. I'm bringing it tonight. Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. They bring it all the time. Lacage, if the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs had a player like a Connor Bedard, Guy Lafleur, back in the 70s, it's Guy Lafleur. Like, there's no one else in that conversation that they've had. No one. Well, it's time you go back to Lacage. The menu's going to surprise you. And of course, 8.6 beer, intense by nature. The beer for those who follow their instinct, that live their passions in order to make their mark. So now, please, let's stop. Let's stop with all this. They're going to make the playoffs, and this is for stupid people. Okay, I'm not a stupid person. This is for stupid people. Believe they're going to make the playoffs. Okay, yeah. Crazier things have happened. Now they're not making the playoffs. Let's stop now. I've had enough. It's over. So now, if you're going to be bad, you might as well be terrible. You know what? The players don't want to be terrible, but at the same time, you know what happens? Losing sometimes, you know what? You drop your head. We lost this, that. You start to give up a little bit. So players don't intentionally tank. They don't do that. They want to win all the time, but they really get discouraged when they lose games and when they're not in it. So, as much as some of you feel bad about the Canadiens losing tonight and the way they lost, I feel good. And I'm hoping they're going to lose again tomorrow night, because a win at this point is 100% counterproductive. Counterproductive. That's what it is. Who's not counterproductive is our guy, Stu Cowan. As a matter of fact, he's very, very productive. That's why we keep bringing him back. That and Hockey Inside Out. What's going on, Stu?
I'm doing well, Tony. How are you? You're fired up tonight. That's good to see.
Yeah. Connor Bedard, man, 7 points. 7 points.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player. And watching, I was watching Canadiens game and switching back, catch a little bit of the juniors here and there. And
yeah,
I think when I was on with you, Tony, last time from Dallas, I believe it was last week, and we were talking about Slavkovsky, and I was saying how I thought the Habs should have sent them to the World Junior Championship.
And I agreed with you.
And tonight highlighted that, watching Slavkovsky playing against Tampa Bay. I was thinking to myself, this kid should be at the World Juniors instead of playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. That's another story. But Connor Bedard, heck of a player. And the thing is, Tony, that up until this point of the season, the Canadiens, we talked about many times, they were entertaining. They were fun to watch even when they were losing. They've become boring to watch again. With the last 9 games, they have 16 goals in the last 9 games. They're 2-6-1 in that span, and one of the wins was in overtime, and one of the wins was in a shootout. So it's sort of, the injuries, as you mentioned earlier, have caught up to them because they're playing too many young guys and they just have too many guys who can't score. I mean, that's basically what has been the problem with the Canadiens for a long time, and now it's catching up to them now. Marty St. Louis has done everything to try and get Joel Armia to score, except steal his equipment and go on the ice himself wearing Joel Armia's equipment, and he probably would score if he did that. He'd have a better chance anyway. Seeing Joel Armia on the first line again tonight, and I'm like, he is who he is. Just give up on him. You're not going to get him going. Nothing's going to happen. You're stuck with that contract. Either you send him to Laval, you buy him out, you do something. You got that's a guy. Yeah, that's a guy that it's not going to happen. It's Marty, I understand what Marty's doing. I asked him after the last game before Christmas, and I said to him, having Drouin and Armia on the first line with Suzuki, I phrased the question. I understand you're coaching for now. You're also coaching to the future. How much does it factor in that you want to move these guys before the trade deadline and maybe trying to get them going? He says, no, I don't think about that at all. I think he does a little bit, but at this point, it's like enough of Joel Armia.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, enough.
Couple of things I want to tackle if I can. First of all, we have Mike on YouTube Live right now, and everyone's watching on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter Live. I'm going to go absolutely nuts tonight, so start calling your friends. You can start telling them, by the way, Marinaro's on the verge of going nuts. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, get ready. Let's go. Mike says, don't get carried away with Connor Bedard. They were playing Germany. They're crap. Okay, no problem. Why didn't somebody else pick up 7 points?
Yeah.
Well, why didn't somebody else pick up 6 points?
But
why didn't somebody else pick up 5 or 4? Why didn't somebody else score a hat trick? I don't buy that. This all garbage.
Playing at the World Juniors, lower level of competition in the NHL, which again is why I think Slavkovsky should have gone back to play at the World Juniors. He's looking more and more lost as the season. There was a period there where he was progressing a little bit every game. I'm watching him tonight with the one hand on the stick, waving it here and there, and making blind passes to the middle. He's not ready to play in the NHL. There's nothing wrong with that. He's 18 years old. There's nothing wrong with him not being ready to play in the NHL. But at this point, I think it's becoming counterproductive now.
Yeah.
And if they keep losing the way they're losing and the attitude in the room is going to get a little bit gloomier, I would have preferred to see him go to the World Juniors.
Stu, this management team hasn't got it wrong all that often since Jeff Gordon was hired back in November of what was it now, almost 14 months ago, all right? Kent Hughes hasn't got it wrong in the last year that he was hired all that often, all right? They got it wrong by not sending Slavkovsky to the World Juniors. And everyone who said, yeah, but he's going to go to a team who's not very good, first of all, that's a load of crap, because a couple of days in here, we've already seen a bunch of upsets at the World Juniors. Anyone could beat anyone, and Slovakia beat Team USA. That's the first thing. Secondly, even if they were crap, I want to see him make them better, and I want to see him elevate. I don't care how bad they are or how good they are or how average they are. You know what Slavkovsky's stats are in the last 7 or 8 games or whatever it is? You know what it is? It's averaging about under 12 minutes a game, and I think he's gone pointless in the last 6. I think he's like -2 or -3 overall, and I think he's got 3 shots in the last 6 games. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I mean, he's 18. God love him. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not saying this because I want to crap on the kid. It's not his fault. Everyone goes through growing pains. It's not easy in the National Hockey League, especially at 18. Going to the World Juniors has never hurt anybody. You go and you try and lead. And you try and be the best. That's it.
You play 20 minutes a game. You play on the power play. You play on the first line. You penalty kill. You do everything when you're there. And I think it would have been a good experience for him. The other thing, you were talking about lack of offense. Nick Suzuki has 1 goal in the last 10 games.
Yeah.
And they're giving him Yoel Army and Jonathan Drouin as line mates isn't helping that situation, obviously.
No, so it's not. But with Monahan getting hurt, they want to put Doc back at center. And I get all that too. But here's the deal, Stu. Here's the deal. Everyone loves Suzuki. Everyone loves Caulfield. Suzuki was playing a little bit over his head. Caulfield was producing a little bit more than we thought this early on in his career. And the goalies were stealing points. Now that Suzuki has been getting special attention from the other teams, and he doesn't have a winger anymore. Now that Caulfield has been getting special attention, and he lost his winger too, and now that the goalies look human, the Canadiens aren't picking up points anymore. This was they were playing over their heads, and it was the balloon was gonna pop, man. It popped. That's it.
The injuries hurt Tony in the NHL season. The first up until Christmas, the first half or almost half of the season. After Christmas, it picks up to another level. After the trade deadline, it picks up to yet another level. In the playoffs, it picks up to yet another level after that. The Canadiens had a great start to the season. Surprised people. I wrote a column a while ago saying they won't make the playoffs because they're not going to win 5 games in a row. They're not good enough to do that. They hadn't lost more than 3 games in a row to this point either. But I wrote another column saying, Marty saying we talking about the truth about a week or 2 ago. And the truth is that they're not that good of a team, right? They had 5 rookie defensemen.
Yeah.
In the lineup time. The bright side of that is 5 rookie defensemen got the experience about playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning, not worried that they're going to be penalized for every mistake they played. And those guys would have learned a lot tonight playing against that team. How you can't give up the puck at the opposing team's blue line and have them counterattack on you. You can't leave guys behind you. You got to know where Kucherov is on the ice all the time. So there's a lot of lessons they would have learned tonight. And that's what this whole season's about. Is for this team learning. And that's why I'm concerned now. Just put Caulfield and Suzuki back together with Doc or whatever you're going to do. Get those guys going again. The other guys are who they are, right? They're who they are. You're not going to get a lot of offense out of Jake Evans. You're not going to get offense out of Drouin. You're not going to get offense out of Armia. You're not going to, there's 2 guys in this team who have double-digit goals, Suzuki and Caulfield. After that, the next guy is Josh Anderson with 8 goals.
Yeah.
They're getting no offense from the blue line. And now, one of Michel Terrier's line is, you got to score 3 goals to win a hockey game. Well, they can't score 3 goals right now. They've become it's going to be interesting to see how, everything's been positive up to this point since Marty St. Louis took over, and rightfully so. But as these losses continue, and if they continue to not be able to score goals, I wonder what the attitude is going to be from fans, from media, and also in the locker room. And that's why, you're saying lose, but you don't want to get one of those 8-game losing streaks like they had last season, because it just kills morale in the dressing room. The guys start to give up. And I think they have a better chance of winning when they stack their number one line and maybe get a couple of goals here and then. Just worry about those guys. Worry about Caulfield and Suzuki moving forward. Don't worry, forget about Yoel Armia. You're stuck with that contract. Mark Bergevin.
Stu, I'll worry about their morale later, though. You're worried about their morale going down. I'm thinking about Connor Bedard.
Yeah, but Tony, Connor Bedard isn't in the NHL. We've seen Connor McDavid. The Edmonton Oilers aren't in a playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. They have two of the best players in the NHL.
Stu, I'm gonna place a bet right now, okay? And whatever you want, all right? I'll put down $5. I'll put down $100. Connor McDavid's gonna win a Stanley Cup in his career. You want to know why I say that? Because 95% of the time, superstars win Stanley Cups.
In Edmonton?
Yeah, well, I don't know where he's gonna win a Stanley Cup.
That's what I mean. So there's no. Connor Bedard's a heck of a hockey player, but there's no guarantee he's going to come here and the Canadiens are going to be. You can't let that attitude get into the locker room. I think I spoke about this with you last time, like they had last season with the Canadiens, where guys don't care anymore. You run our goalie, nobody cares. You lose 7-1, nobody cares. Show up at the rink, nobody's happy, nobody cares. You can't let that creep into this rebuild, and I don't think.
Stu, I know there's no guarantees that you draft Connor Bedard. By the way, I know there's no guarantees that you win the lottery.
There's no guarantee even if you do draft him that you're going to win the Stanley Cup with him.
No, but you do realize that if you do win the lottery and you do draft Connor Bedard, for example, that the rebuild is over. You could now.
The best thing that could happen to the Canadiens at this point is obviously if they win the lottery and they get Connor Bedard at the draft.
100%.
The best thing that could happen for the Canadiens. But if they finish dead last, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. You could finish dead last and still lose the lottery. But the way things are going, as you mentioned, they're going to be bottom 6, but they're going to have a good chance at winning the lottery one way or the other.
Yeah, and hopefully Florida gets even worse, and they even end up getting a better pick because of Florida's first round.
Can you imagine if they ended up if Florida wins the lottery and the Canadiens have that pick?
That would be amazing
for Ben Sherratt. That would be
amazing. That'd be absolutely amazing. It is the Sick Podcast, and if you like what you're hearing, message us Sick SICK. And share it and hit the like button. And if you're going to listen tomorrow on Google, Apple, or Spotify, or whatever social media platform you want, then at that point, leave us a 5-star review.
The other thing Tony just said up that you got to realize too, we talk about Marty St. Louis. Nobody hates to lose more than Marty St. Louis. He understands the situation he's in. He understands it's a rebuild. He understands it's all about the future. He understands it's all about developing young players. But he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to lose 10 games in a row. And it's going to be interesting to see how he handles this moving forward now if this losing continues. As I mentioned, 2-6-1 in the last 9 games, not scoring goals.
He's not having fun, Stu, lately? The camera's
No, he's not having fun, and it's eating at him a little bit. And as I said, it's been all roses for him since he took over, right? I mean, it couldn't get any worse than what it was at Dominic Ducharme. He came in, turned around the attitude, made it fun for guys to come to the rink again. And that's when you talk about tanking. Tanking isn't fun. I think they've got to get Suzuki and Caulfield back together with Doc, or whatever it takes to get those two guys going again. To me, that should be their focus moving forward. Forget about getting Yoel Armia going. Forget about getting Jonathan Drouin going, and go from there. Maybe give Richard a better chance. I mean, he was flying out there tonight. He was skating hard. One of the 3 guys skating hard. They're stuck with a lot of guys who they are. Jonathan Drouin is who he is. Yoel Armia is who he is. I love Jake Evans. He's a 4th-line center. He's been unlucky this year. He hasn't had many goals, but he is who he is. The Caulfield and Suzuki are the future of this team. And you got to get these guys back to where they're producing again.
Hey, listen, I'm going to say this, right? When I talk about Connor Bedard and stuff like that, I'm okay with Slavkovsky. I'll support it. But Slavkovsky could end up being an average player in the National Hockey League, right? I mean, there's that. He was not. He was not a slam dunk number 1. He's not a generational player. Many people have said that in other draft years, he probably doesn't go top 3. He probably doesn't go top 5. Okay.
I've written it, Tony. I've told you before. I still think in the end, Shane Wright's going to be a better hockey player than Slavkovsky. Yeah.
So, with that said, I mean, if you can add to this talent, then you understand why I want the Canadiens to be able to have, as good a draft pick as possible, because this is look at Dvorsky. Dvorsky tonight, he's a good player. It looks like he's going to probably go in the top 6 in the draft as well. Leo Carlson, he's a good player. Matt Vichkov is a really, really good player. Fantilli's not having the tournament that he would have wanted up until now, but based on everything we saw with him, he's a good player. And there are others too. And, when you talked about Slavkovsky, he should have been at the World Juniors, and I totally support that. His buddy, Simon Nemec, who was drafted number 2 overall. I get it. He's a defenseman drafted by the New Jersey Devils. First couple of games in for Slovakia. He's played 25 and 26 minutes. Yeah. 25 and 26 minutes. Yeah. I mean, he's playing all right. We got so much.
Well, you were saying, though, even if Slavkovsky went there and his team isn't that great.
Yeah.
If he's playing 20 minutes a game and he comes back and he scored 6 goals or whatever. Yeah. He's going to be confident. He's going to feel confident.
Of course.
Then maybe you do bring him back to Montreal, or maybe you send him to Laval. But I think he's at a point now. The kid's at a point now where he's been like trying to learn and trying to adjust to. Forget English isn't his first language, even though he speaks it very well. He's coming to a new country, smaller rink, quicker game, less time to react. He's got a lot of stuff going on. And now it's at the point where we get to the midway point of the season. It becomes big boy hockey, right, as we move forward from here, and it's tough. And I think the World Juniors would have been just get him out of Montreal, send him to the World Juniors where he's in all the groups of guys his own age, go down there and hopefully for him and for the Canadiens dominate for his team, play a lot, get his confidence level back, feel good about himself, and then bring him back after if you want.
Hey, I don't know if you saw this earlier today, but can we bring something up here? Big time acquisition. Everyone's waiting for the Canadiens to go out and make a trade before the deadline or sign a free agent. We're not waiting around here. We're not screwing around. When we see talent, we jump on it right away. We welcome to the sick team someone that you know very well, Stu Cowan, a young man by the name of Scott Cowan.
Yeah, he lives in my house here. He's actually written for a few hockey websites before. He's got a passion for it. And thanks to you guys for giving him an opportunity to write some stuff for the Sick podcast. So he's really excited about it, and I'm excited to see what he can produce for you guys.
Good. We can't wait. And hopefully it's good work. And if it's not, it's your fault.
That's it.
All right. Yoel Armia. I don't know where they're going to go from here. I mean, he's got time left on his contract. They're trying to get him going. They put him with Caulfield and Suzuki, but it almost seems like some of these guys that they've been holding on to, and Armia is not going to be the first one to get traded because he's got years left on his contract. And you would think that Drouin, who's in the final year of his contract, you would think he'll be gone. Dadonov's in the final year of his contract. He'll be gone. Monahan's in the final year of his contract at one point here. He's going to be gone. So Armia is not going to be the first guy, but it just seems like if the value is going up for, let's say the value is going up for a Jake Allen over the past couple of games, if they would want to trade him at some point, the value is not going up for some of these forwards that they have. No. The forwards, I mean, it almost seems like the more opportunity they give them, the more counterproductive it becomes because the more minutes they get, the worse they look.
I can't imagine another team being interested in Yoel Armia at that contract. As I said, he's 26 or 27, I think now. He is who he is. There was a shift tonight in the third period. Suzuki was breaking up the middle, and Armia threw a bad pass, and it went down the ice. It was icing. You could sort of see Suzuki, who doesn't show emotion a lot on the ice, sort of like, man, what? Come on. You know what I mean? It was like,
yeah, he's
frustrated. Suzuki, as I said, Suzuki's got 1 goal in 10 games, and he's playing with a winger who can't give him a pass when he's breaking through the middle. He's like, come on. That's why, as I said earlier, I think it's important for St. Louis to focus. This focus right now should be in getting Caulfield and Suzuki going again. If that means putting Doc back with him, then do it. And let the other line suck because they've sucked as it is anyway. I'm trying to get your number 1 line to produce and score some goals and get those guys going moving forward because like Yoel Armia on that. I mean, Suzuki, the game before Christmas, he plays with Drouin and Armia. To Drouin's credit, Drouin's been working really hard since he came back from the injuries and working hard. It's just not happening for him.
Too little, too late.
The effort's there. It's not happening. Armia, the effort. I mean, finish a check. If you're not scoring any goals, finish a check. Watch what Mike Pizzetta does. Go in the corner, finish a check. You're a big guy. Hit somebody. Do something.
Yeah.
Contribute in some way. He doesn't. And it's every coach he's had since he's been in the NHL, I'm sure has just pulled their hair out watching. I remember watching a practice when Dominic Ducharme was coaching. And he said a lot of the same things that Marty St. Louis said. He's got the talent. He's got the package. He's got everything. And he does when you watch him in practice. And there was a practice where they're working on the power play, and they put Army on the shooting spot where Caulfield is now, and they obviously wanted him to shoot. The puck came to him two or three times in practice. He passed it, and Ducharme went over and basically told him, shoot the puck.
Yeah.
And then the next time it came to him, he shot it. And the next time it came to him, he passed it. And Ducharme just took him off and put somebody else there. It's like, Ducharme did everything he could to try and get him going. Marty St. Louis, as I said, done everything except steal his equipment and go out and play himself, wear Army's equipment. So enough already. Cole
Caulfield hasn't scored in 3 games. And you know what? Here's a guy who's looking for a contract. And
1 in 5, too, 1 goal.
And so he's gonna start to lose patience as well if he hasn't already, because he was so hot and he wants to continue to be hot. And obviously, you know what? He can, if they'd have a pretty good power play, they can score goal. But they were 0 for 5 on the power play tonight, Stu.
Yeah.
They had 1 power play. I don't remember which one of the 5 that it was, but I think Tampa Bay had the puck for like 80% of it.
It's embarrassing.
And the best scoring chances.
It's so bad. I mean, I don't know the stats in front of me. I think they have like 1 power play goal in the last 40 chances or something like that now. It shouldn't be that bad, right? No power play in the NHL should be that bad. They can't get it over. They can't get it in the zone, and then when they do get it in the zone, they pass around. They don't shoot it. As you say, the other team gets it. It's pathetic, is what it is, really.
Let's put the cards on the table. If the guy in charge of the power play, his name wasn't Burroughs and he wasn't from Paincourt, a certain sector of the media would have chased him out of town already.
Well,
they're giving him a pass because he's from here, but
I wrote something a little while ago saying there's no salary cap on coaching.
Yeah.
Like, even if they don't want to fire, if you don't want to fire him, bring in somebody.
Yeah.
Bring in a power play specialist coach because it's just at this point, they have enough guys. They don't have that point guy. That's why one of the reasons I brought up Barron is they want somebody who can be on the point and actually be a threat to shoot the puck also.
Yeah.
Chris Weidman, great passer. I like Chris Weidman, great guy, great passer, but he doesn't shoot the puck. He's no threat to shoot the puck from the point on the power play. That's a problem. As I mentioned to you, I think before, Tony, last time, put Jack Guy back there even. At least he can get shots through to the net from the point. But the power play is really, the number one thing I think they need to do right now is try and get Suzuki and Caulfield going again on the number 1 line with a good line mate. And the number 2 thing is they got to get something happening with the power play.
You know what? I like Alex Burrows. I've always got along with him, but this is at the end of the day. You know what?
Well, the thing is,
you're judged on your productivity and on the results. Results are terrible. The members of the media used to give Kirk Muller a hard time at some point. Muller never ran a power play this bad. Never.
As inexperienced as the Canadiens are on the ice, they're even more inexperienced behind the bench.
Yeah.
Marty St. Louis, Robida, these guys have no idea. Burroughs was playing, and then all of a sudden he became an assistant coach in Laval. And then when they fired Ducharme and everything, they brought him in, and it's like he's, he wasn't he's not when you think, oh geez, who would be a good power play coach? Alex Burrows isn't the guy who sort of jumps into your head right away. And again, as I said, if they don't, whatever it is, whatever the relationship is Marty has with him or the Canadiens have, and Jeff Molson's eaten a lot of contracts and paid a lot of guys to coach who weren't coaching anymore. I don't know how much that factors in, but there's no salary cap on coaches. So if you don't want to get rid of Burroughs and you think he still brings something, whether the players like him, whether the coaches like him, whether he brings other stuff behind the bench, but at this point, you'd probably be doing him a favor if you brought somebody else in to run the power play.
You know what? I know no one's ever going to want to admit this, Stu, but I think they're in status quo mode this season. I think
admit
it, but
as I mentioned, Jeff Molson spent 3 years paying Claude Julien $5 million not to coach.
Yeah,
he's paying Dominic Ducharme $1.7 million this year and next year not to coach. He's paid a lot of money to guys not to coach over the last few years, and you wonder if, as an owner, you go, okay, enough. Enough. We're in a rebuild. We got the coaching staff that's here. St. Louis came in. He didn't change any coaching staff. The only change he made was when Luke Richardson left.
Yeah,
and they had to bring somebody in. They brought in Robida. So it's. But the power, they can't, as I'm talking about having, and St. Louis spoke about this. He said one of the things with Suzuki and Caulfield, when the power play is so bad, and you lose confidence on the power play, you lose confidence on your regular shift too. It's in the back of your mind. We can't score on the power play. We're struggling. It's just a bad feeling all around. So get that number 1 line going again. try and get the power play going again. And the rest of it is what it is, right? I mean, it's not Kent Hughes' fault that Joel Armia has 2 more years left on his contract. It's not Kent Hughes' fault that Jonathan Drouin is making $5 million this year. It's not, a lot of the stuff is stuff that's left over from the previous administration here. They've got to try and work around it. And that's why I asked St. Louis the question after the last game before Christmas there in Dallas, if putting Armia and Drouin on the number 1 line was because they're trying to showcase them so they can try and trade them. But at this point, you're not going to get much of anything for either of those guys. And as you say, the more you play them, the more their value seems to drop.
What did you think of Justin Barron tonight? 15 minutes and 37 seconds. Shot on goal, -1.
He looked a little nervous, which is understandable.
Yeah.
You get called up from the AHL. You're playing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. You're on the road. It's just after Christmas, like a lot of stuff going on, right? You probably went home for Christmas. You come back, you're back in the NHL. He said he found out on Christmas Eve. He looked okay. I mean, watching him in training camp, he looked sort of timid. He wasn't physical enough for a big guy. He's got to be a lot more physical defensively. He's got to be a lot more decisive. He's got to play a lot more like Arbor Xhekaj. He's more talented than Arbor Xhekaj. Obviously, he was a first-round draft pick. He's got to play more like him. He's got to play with a little bit of an edge, be a little more physical. When he makes a decision, make your decision and go. Don't be so hesitant. Tonight he looked a little hesitant, but I'll chalk a lot of that up to, you imagine how nervous he must have been coming up. He expected to make the team out of training camp. The Canadiens expected him to make the team, I'm sure. They gave him every opportunity to make the team. He played in almost every preseason game, but he wasn't aggressive enough. Like he didn't make himself noticeable enough. He's a big guy.
Soft. He was soft.
Yeah, he was soft. Yeah, he was. He didn't use his size. He played soft. And Arbor Xhekaj didn't play soft.
Correct.
And Kovacevic didn't play soft. And that's why those guys made the team and he didn't.
He needs an X factor, Stu. I'm not so sure he has one. Like he does a lot of things good, but you just talked about Xhekaj. Like Xhekaj can hit and he can drop the gloves, so he does that very good. Kovacevic maybe isn't very good in any category either and probably doesn't have an X factor, but then you put him up next to Barron. He's bigger than him. He's stronger than him. He hits harder than him. And
he makes decisions quick and he's smart on the ice too.
It's just a little bit of an upgrade. So it made it really tough for him. It made it tough
for
him.
It must have been a tough decision too for the Canadiens not to have Barron start the season because he's the guy they gave up Lekkinen and they got him, right? So it's Kent Hughes' trade. So it says a lot about the management team that they were willing to say, here's a guy we traded Artturi Lekkinen. This is the guy we got, former first-round pick, played 5 games, I think it was last season with the Canadiens before he hurt his ankle. And he just wasn't good enough at training camp. He just didn't. I think the Canadiens expected him to make the team out of training camp, and I think maybe he did too, and maybe that played into why he wasn't more aggressive. But one of the things with Joel Armia, I've written this a few times, Joel Armia plays like a big, nice guy, right? Doesn't really hit anybody. He doesn't just skates around as a big, nice guy. And we saw a little bit of that of Barron at training camp. He's got to have a little bit more of an edge to him at the NHL level. And I think, and you hope that by being sent down to Laval, he got that message. The interview he did in Tampa, it sounded like he did. Again, tonight he looked nervous, but that's totally understandable for a guy playing his first game, getting called up after being. I'm sure he was shocked when he got sent down to the AHL. He didn't expect it.
Yeah.
He seems to have handled it well going down there. He played well. He handled it a lot better than Ryan Poehling did when he first got sent down to Laval. So let's give him a few games and see how he does. But I think he got the message from listening to his interview from Tampa the other day. I think he got the message that the Canadiens made clear to him why he didn't make the team, what they need to see more out of him, and he's got to be less soft. He's got to play a more aggressive style. He's got to, as I said, he's got to play a little bit more like Arbor Xhekaj.
And Yellow, if you can, back at Master Control here, why don't you bring up the lines in tonight's game, Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, Canadiens with Suzuki in between Armia on his right and Caulfield on his left. Doc at the center ice position with Hoffman on his right and Drouin on his left. Dvorak with Anderson on his right. Slavkovsky on his left. Evans with Richard on his right. And Pizzetta on his left. Edmondson, Gooley, Xhekaj, Kovacevic, Harris, and Barron. And Jake Allen in goal for Tampa Bay. Do we have the Lightning? We do. These guys are the best. Thank God I'm wearing my glasses. Braden Point with Kucherov on his right and Brandon Hagel on his left. Nick Paul with Ross Colton on his right and Steven Stamkos on his left. Anthony Cirelli. It's actually Cirelli, but they say Cirelli. But anyway, with Pat Maroon on his right and Alex Kaloran on his left. And Pierre-Edouard Bellemare centering Corey Perry and Vladislav Nemesnikov. On defense, Hedman, Bogosian, Sergachev, Perbix, Ian Cole, and Eric Cernak, and Andrei Vasilevsky in goal. Speaking of Corey Perry and Michael Pezzetta, what did you think? Perry wasn't happy, huh?
No, he wasn't. Pezzetta caught him sort of behind. It was a clean hit. There was no penalty on it, but Perry didn't like it and gave him the stick right where the sun doesn't shine, which is one of Corey Perry's well-known moves. And then gave him the first. I mean, remember when I was a kid, and my dad told me, if you're getting a fight, make sure you get in the first punch. Yeah. Maybe Corey Perry's dad told him the same thing, because when it started, he threw the first punch, and then Pezzetta went at him. But that's Corey Perry being Corey Perry. You know,
yeah. And he was being Corey Perry tonight. You see the way he crashed the net? Like, you wanted to put the puck and Jake.
That's why everybody hates Corey Perry when he's not on your team. And as Montreal Canadiens fans learned, they love him when he is on your team.
All right. Okay. What do you think tomorrow night? Canadiens in Florida tomorrow.
Back-to-backs are always tough.
It's too bad somebody's got to win that game, considering what's going on with the Florida Panthers draft pick.
Back-to-backs are always tough. The Canadiens are on the road. It's been a long. I'm not on the Pat Hickey's on this road trip. I'm going to Washington for the game on New Year's Eve, and then Nashville January 3rd. You know, the Bell Center, they rented out over the December. Teams on the road almost all the time, the whole month of December. It's not easy. It's not easy when they're a good team. It's not easy when they're even harder when they're a rebuilding team. It's going to be tough for the Canadiens tomorrow night. I mean, not a gambling guy, but if I was, I mean, it's going to be tough for the Canadiens playing against the Panthers on a back-to-back right after Christmas. I mean, they flew home Christmas Eve. They would have arrived I think they landed in Montreal at 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve. And guys were like, I saw Suzuki was with his parents. He went there. The other guys are going wherever, and like a day and a half or whatever, and then back on a plane and then back to Florida. I'm sure guys are exhausted. It's not easy. I mean, the Canadiens choose this schedule because they want to make money from other events at the Bell Center every December. And it doesn't help the hockey team, that's for sure. It puts more money in Group CH pockets, but it's not a good thing for the hockey team. This is a real tough stretch to be away from home, come back for that little brief spell at Christmas. I mean, I was watching the game tonight on TV, and they're saying, it was the first game the Lightning have played since December 21st. They had like a week off, and they're still going to be home through New Year's. You know, the Canes are in Washington on New Year's. It's an afternoon game. Then they fly to the Nashville. They play in Nashville on January 3rd. They're not back. So they're home most of the month of January. Mm-hmm. But when if this was a good team right now in a playoff push, that schedule can kill you, man. And you know, if you really bomb in December, you come back, you have all these games in January at home. Sometimes it's too late. So moving forward, you wonder what I'm sure it won't change because they want all those Christmas events at the Bell Center. But it definitely does not help the Canadiens the way they said. It's their choice to have that schedule.
You know, it's funny. You said something before where you said, and during the games that they've lost here over the last little while, the Canadiens aren't all that exciting anymore. Marty St. Louis is still the same coach. He's still teaching the same concepts. This is when we talk about confidence. This is what it does, right? When your confidence is up, you win a game, you score a goal, all of a sudden, you know what? Your plays are working. When you're not winning a game and then all of a sudden you don't score a goal and then you lose a second game and you don't score for a second game in a row, or you don't score for a third game in a row, all of a sudden you're trying to move that used to work. Now it's not working anymore because you're probably you're overthinking. You're probably gripping the stick a little bit too much. Confidence is such a big thing, man. And when you have confidence, you could end up playing like an exciting team. And when you don't have it, your plays don't work, and all of a sudden you're not that exciting anymore.
When I saw that bad pass Armia gave to Suzuki that went for icing, and I saw Suzuki sort of do this, I was like, that's not good, because that's not Nick Suzuki. That's not his style. He's not, for him to be that much body language, that frustration, that's not a good thing. I said he's got 1 goal in 10 games, and he's playing with a winger who's having a hard time just getting him the puck. And then Joel Armia has zero confidence right now. I mean, there's nothing. It might be -10 his confidence level right now. He's got nothing. He's just skating out there, and it looks like he doesn't know what's happening in either end of the ice. It's become real painful to watch. Really, it has. It's as a part of me, like there's just nothing's happening for this guy. Nothing.
Nothing's happening for him. And, you talked about Slavkovsky before, and I hate to come back to him, but nothing's happening for him as well. I mean, tonight his game is like 5 hits, and all of a sudden now he's kind of like, instead of scoring goals and instead of picking up points and making assists and stuff like that, he feels like he has to do something. So now he's hitting, which, that's what we want Yoel Armia to do if he's not scoring goals. But I'm not so sure that's what I want Slavkovsky to do at 18, going out of his way to hit guys and stuff like that. I mean, I'd rather him be in an offensive role. So my question to you is, even though he hasn't produced, would you put him on that number one line with Suzuki and Caulfield?
But I like the sign that he's hitting guys. It shows he's frustrated, and he's like, I'm going to contribute something. I wish Yoel Armia, I don't know, 4 times tonight I watched Yoel Armia had a chance to really finish a check hard and nothing. Then Mike Pizzetta goes in and he finishes a check. I can't remember which defenseman he was. He knocked on his butt at one point, had to hit on Corey Perry. At this point, I'd rather they try Slavkovsky on the number one line than Armia. When I remember the day you were there, Tony, the day before the draft, and I asked Slavkovsky, why do you think the Canadiens should draft you? And he said, because I can play with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, and we can score lots of goals together. So I'd rather see them play him there than play Yoel Armia there, because if that could be something in the future, and you're talking about a confidence, that would give the kid some confidence to have him play with those two guys. I would do, like, you didn't send him to the World Juniors, okay. At this point now, things are, it's obvious this team isn't going to make the playoffs. I think it's been obvious since the start of the season, but it's really obvious now. Put him with them. Why not? I would do it. Why not? It might, give the kid a chance, at least for a couple of games, and see what happens. I think he deserves a chance there more than Yoel Armia does.
Josh Anderson, when you said before on Yoel Armia, he is who he is, Josh Anderson is who he is too. And he's got 5 years left on his deal at $5.5 million. And, at one point, Armia is not going to be here anymore, and we're going to stop talking about him, and then we're going to start talking about Josh Anderson. Because Josh Anderson, albeit a little bit better, he's like Yoel Armia 2.0.
Josh Anderson's sort of a old school hockey, like up and down the wing hard, go hard to the net. I think he struggles a bit and with this concepts that Marty St. Louis wants him to play. Like, he's more of just like, go up and down my wing as hard as I can. I cut to the net. And I think he's maybe struggling a bit trying to play the game that Marty St. Louis wants him to play. I don't think he's a really good fit with the style of hockey Marty St. Louis wants to play. Kirby Dach is, right? Kirby Dach, you see him when he plays with Suzuki and Caulfield, he's got a real good hockey IQ. He comes over to blue line, he has options. He'll cut one way, he'll cut the other way, he'll slow down, he'll speed up. Josh Anderson, he knows one way to play the game. You know
what you just said, right? Without saying it, you know what you just said? If you're an east-west hockey player, you can fit into Marty St. Louis style of play. But if all you know is north-south, it's
But I think we're talking about trades. I think there's other teams in the NHL that would have a lot of interest in Josh Anderson because of the way he plays and because of the way he's a guy, and he plays more of a playoff style of, a Sutter style of hockey. So I think there would be interest in him if the Canadiens are looking to move him.
I wouldn't be afraid to trade him, by the way. Sometimes you're afraid because you think guys will come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
He is who he is, and because of that, and everyone knows it, I wouldn't be afraid to trade him because
and he might go somewhere else and score 25 goals or something for another team playing a different type of style of hockey than Marty St. Louis wants them to play. But I just think Marty St. Louis' style of hockey, the concepts he has, is more difficult for Josh Anderson, and also Brendan Gallagher, same type of thing. Brendan Gallagher, same style, go to the net, go hard to the net. And Marty St. Louis talked about, trying to get them to play a different way. And both of those guys have talked about trying to learn to play the way Marty St. Louis wants them to play. But I think it's easier to teach younger guys to play that system. I know the old line, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think it's easier to bring in a young guy like Kirby Dach, who struggled in Chicago. He's about 21 or 22 years old coming in. I think he's more... The younger guys are more, I don't even say willing, more able to learn the way Marty St. Louis wants his team to play. And you also have to have a high hockey IQ to play the style that he wants to play.
Stu, thanks so much for doing this, man. Enjoy the Canadiens in Florida tomorrow night versus the Panthers. I know you're not going to be working that one. You're in Washington, and you're waiting for the Canadiens to play the Washington Capitals on New Year's Eve. So very unfortunately, Stu, when the new year kicks in, you're going to be in Washington.
I am. Actually, I'm covering, it's an afternoon game in Washington. I think it's 4 o'clock start, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And then I will be spending New Year's Eve in Washington, and then I have a flight to Nashville on the morning of New Year's Day, and then they play there on the 3rd, and then I'm back home for a while.
It's too bad you weren't able to bring the family on the road with you in Washington. That would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been. They're happy to be staying home and just relaxing, and we got the new dog too, so they're taking care of the new dog. So it's it'll be a nice trip. I mean, Nashville's my favorite city in the NHL to go to. I absolutely love it. I'm a country music fan also, and Washington's always a nice city to visit. The weather's supposed to be nice, so it'll be a nice break and hang out with all my buddies from RDS and the Journal de Montréal and TVA Sports on New Year's.
Yeah, pretty cool. Hey, Stu, thanks for all your contributions over the last couple of years here at the Sick Podcast. I wish you a lot of health and happiness and peace, my friend, in 2023. You be well.
Same to you, Tony, and everybody there at the podcast.
Thank you very much. All right, there you have it, Stu Cowan. All right, I want to tackle this, all right? Mike L. Says to me, he says, I got to find this because, Tony, the reality is that the Habs need to find good players outside the top 10. The chances are the Habs won't have a top 10 pick this year. So, again, stop with the Bedard pipe dream. Oh, really, eh? So, hold on a second. Explain it to me why they're not going to have a top 10 pick this year. Can you explain it to me? Because I know this, that if I look at the standings right now, the Montreal Canadiens are 26th out of 32 teams. They have 4 points more than Arizona, who's got 2 games in hand. They got 4 points more than Philadelphia. They got 5 points more than San Jose. And okay, pardon me, they have 11 points more than Columbus, who has 2 games in hand. Chances are the Canadiens are not going to finish bottom 3. I get that. But they're 26th out of 32 right now. And the way they're going, you're trying to tell me that they can't finish 4th last? Or they can't finish 5th last? Is that what you're telling me? Because I'm going to tell you right now, is that this is going to get worse this season before it gets better. The injuries have really hurt the Canadiens because when you have injuries, you need depth. They don't have depth, number one. To the point where they don't have depth that if they took the center who they ended up putting on the wing and took him away from the wing, now they're really, that's Doc, right? So they had to put him at center and it's hurting. There's going to be players that are going to be moved between now and the deadline. The Canadiens are going to move 3-4 players the way they did a year ago. And when the Canadiens start losing more and more games, the players are going to put their head down like they did a year ago. And they're going to, some games are going to be over before they even start, like it happened a year ago. Mike, I don't get, with all due respect, your message that Bedard is a pipe dream and that the Canadiens have no chance of finishing in the bottom 10. They're 26 out of 32. And they're 5 points up on San Jose, who's 4th last. 5. They're going to be in Florida tomorrow night. They're going to be in Washington on Saturday afternoon. That'll be their 3rd game in 3.5 days. Then from there, they go to Nashville a couple of days after New Year's. And then they come back to host the New York Rangers. And you say it's impossible that the Canadiens finish in the bottom 10? Oh, no, it's very possible. It's very possible. MatrixHomeFitness.ca. Spoke with Greg earlier today of Matrix Home Fitness. Bring it home. Discover a club quality workout in the comfort of your own home. Visit MatrixHomeFitness.ca. Now, with the Montreal Canadiens, with some of the players out of lineup due to injury, you can bet that they probably have Matrix Fitness equipment at their home, and they're keeping in shape before they make it back to the lineup. It's now time for You Called. Let's go for it.
You Called. Presented by Playground.
By Playground, your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. I actually drove by Playground earlier today because I took a little day trip to Plattsburgh this afternoon. So I made my way past Playground and I spent the afternoon in Plattsburgh, and it was kind of cool. And you know what was the coolest thing? Getting stopped at TJ Maxx, getting stopped at Target, getting stopped at Walmart and getting stopped at a fast food restaurant from people who say, hey, I watch you on the Sick Podcast. That happened in 4 different places today. Kind of makes you feel good. Kind of cool. 1-888-585-7425 is the number to call. Habs fans, I want to hear from all of you who are saying, oh, Tony, please stop with the tank. The Canadiens are going to make the playoffs this year. Papi, papa, papi, papa. You know, Denny Kader actually told me yesterday on BPM Sports 91.9 FM, Quebec's premier #1 all sports radio station. They have been since May 28th. Anyway, Denny Kader yesterday told me that the Canadiens are going to make the playoffs. I said, Denny, ahead of who? Who are they catching? And I said, if you think they're making the playoffs, the second half of the season starts now. It doesn't start in 2023. Starts now. Tampa Bay's ahead of you. Got to beat them. Florida's ahead of you. Got to beat them. Washington's ahead of you. Got to beat them. Next week you play the Rangers. They're ahead of you. Got to beat them. Not happening. Forget about it. Not making the playoffs. For all of you who said, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs, this, that, what, he's great, he's fantastic. Everyone's great. Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. For what? The worst thing that could happen to these guys is that you all hold on to the whole thing that they're going to make the playoffs, and they end up finishing 18th, 19th, and they're out of the top 10. You want to be in the top 5. That's where you want to be. And in an ideal situation, you want to have 2 picks, theirs and Florida's, in the top 5. And man, could you imagine 1 and 2? Could you imagine? It's not impossible, folks. It's not impossible. I think there's more of a chance. I really believe there's more of a chance that the Canadiens end up being closer to the bottom than being closer to a playoff spot. Even though, like I said, chances are they're not going to be as bad as Chicago, who's 13 points less than the Canadiens. Mind you, the Blackhawks have 2 games in hand. Imagine they win them. All of a sudden, it's a 9-point difference. 4 wins here, 4 losses there. Never know. I'd like to hear from you. I'd really like to hear from you at 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. It looks like we have a call. Andrew. Andrew, you there?
Hello, Tony.
Yes, Andrew, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Very good. Are you Senator Heiss on YouTube Live?
I sure am. Wow. I am. And I want to thank you for that contest where I won the wrestling tickets. I want to thank you a lot for that.
You're very, very welcome. I hope you enjoyed the show. If all goes well, we'll be able to do it again in the next month or so because the WWE is coming back to Montreal for 2 shows. Did you know that?
That sounds great.
Yeah, they're coming back for 2 shows. Yeah.
Wow.
What do you want to talk about, my man?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for bringing Knuckles on because I loved watching you guys for years.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Knuckles fan, and I think the world of what you guys did on radio. So that's it. That's the first thing. I've been following you for a long time.
We
really appreciate what you do.
We're very proud of what we were able to do on radio on time slots that weren't easy. One being a 10 a.m. slot, another one being a 1 p.m. slot. So we're pretty happy with what we were able to do. And I think we, I think we did pretty well.
I think you did great. And for this year, I think you're totally right, Tony. We got to just focus on, letting the kids get some ice time. Suzuki was in way over his head, no doubt about it. And I think, it's going to get a lot worse. It's going to get a lot worse. I think we've got a good shot at getting Bedard. No doubt in my mind.
Well, look, we don't have the best shot at getting Bedard, and I understand why people are a little bit skeptical because the Canadiens got the first pick last year, and you're wondering, geez, what's the chance of them getting the first pick 2 years in a row and all that stuff? And look, they don't have the best shot at getting Bedard because
if Florida can keep sinking as well. We'll have 2 cracks at it. That would be nice.
That definitely is going to be nice. Hey, by the way, where do you live exactly?
I'm in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
You're in Dartmouth.
You there? Hello? Lost you. I can't hear you. Hello?
Can do. Sam, bring me back up. Is he still there? Andrew, you still there? All right. It looks like we lost Andrew, very unfortunately. But, the good news is that we're back, because for a while there, I thought we were gone. I don't know what happened there. 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. We open up the phone lines. Alexander is in Montreal. Alexander, what's going on?
Good. How about you, Tony?
I'm very good. Thank you. Very, very good.
Yeah, so I just have a few questions. Actually, I know you touched a bit on it, that we have a tough schedule ahead of us.
Yeah.
What about Florida? On a lot of websites, if you take a look at it, they're among top 2 worst schedule ahead of them. And there's a possibility of us having maybe potentially 2 first-round pick in the top 10. And with the odds of the lottery, how would you see Bettman allowing, let's say, hypothetically speaking, us having 2 picks in the top 5 or even 2 picks in the top 3? Because if you look at the odds, everything can happen, right? And us having won the first overall pick last year with Slavkovsky, how likely is that possible? How do you think would he allow it?
Well, would he allow it? Is it not done through a lottery? And what are we doing? We're rigging the draft here, or what? What's the story here?
Well, we never know what's going on behind doors with Bettman and the disdain he has towards Canadian teams. So I'm not sure.
Let me ask you a question. In 2010, who got the number 1 pick overall in the draft?
2010.
Yeah. Go back. Look at your papers. Yeah.
Was it Taylor Hall? Taylor Hall? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes. Who got him?
Yeah. Oilers.
Which team?
Oilers.
Yeah. In 2011, who got the first pick overall in the draft?
Oilers again.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. In 2012, who got the first pick in the draft?
Yeah, fell for Nail. We all remember that.
Nail Yakupov. Okay, so if the Edmonton Oilers, between 2010 and 2012, 3 years in a row, land the first pick overall in the draft, and the rules have changed, by the way, since then, because I believe you cannot do it more than twice now, if memory serves me well, in one of the rule changes. Why can't the Canadiens have the first pick overall 2 years in a row? Why not?
Yeah, that's a fair point, man. You got it.
Yeah. Thanks for calling, man. I'm all for fair points.
Thanks.
All right. Alexander in Montreal. Sounds like a good guy to me. I don't know what he was eating. He was eating, and stuff like that. But I'm not eating at 11 o'clock at night. I'm just not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's not happening anymore. I'm doing my intermittent fasting. I eat between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. After 7 p.m., I don't eat anymore. John is in Washington. John, what's going on?
Hey, Tony.
Hey, John.
I'm doing all right.
Good.
You sound great, Tony. We're having a lot of fun watching your podcast down here.
Yeah. Who?
Who?
Yeah. Who?
Me and the kids.
Oh, you and the kids.
They don't know who the hell you are, Tony, but I tell them he's great to listen to. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Okay. So
right now.
How did you start listening to the Sick Podcast here?
I was listening to you on the radio.
Yeah.
And back at work.
Yeah.
In DC.
Yeah.
And then when you left that position.
Yeah.
I found you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. You want to give me your opinion on how the status is of that radio right now?
I got to tell you, I'm like everyone else. You get excited with the wins. But
no, never mind the wins. Never mind the wins. I want to talk about the radio. Like, you still listen or?
No, I don't.
No,
To be
no.
honest, I don't.
Yeah, me
No,
neither.
I don't.
Yeah, no, me neither.
It's just that it's not the same, and I don't listen. But it's okay because now I can listen to you anytime I want.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah, that's
So
it.
I mean, it's a win for me. It's a win.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. I appreciate the support, by the way. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Sound like a good guy to me. How old are your kids exactly? How old are your kids?
16 and 13.
16 and 13. Well, you're planning on coming to Montreal or what?
Yeah, I still have a lot of family in Montreal.
Oh, you do? Well, the next time you come to Montreal, you let me know. All right, you let me know.
Okay.
Because I'll go out for lunch with you and the kids.
Ah, that'd be great.
Ah, why not?
That'd be great.
Why not?
Yeah. My daughter's thinking about going to school up there, university. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you could pick a great place.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll help convince her to go up there. I told her it's too cold.
Yeah.
But, she wants to go up there.
It's cold. I mean, but it actually will help her studies because she's not going to go out. She's actually going to stay inside and do homework.
Exactly. That's
right?
one benefit.
Yeah, and if she's going to go to university, and hopefully my boys go too, and they can always, they could always.
I don't know about that, Tony. Still.
No. What I'm saying is they need help with their schoolwork and stuff like that. So if she's good in school and stuff like that, maybe she can help tutor them or something.
Oh yeah, she's great. She's a great student.
Maybe even write an exam for them. That would be nice. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. All right, okay. What's on your mind, my man? What's on your mind?
Well, I heard you and Stu talking about Slafkovsky, and you guys were being really, really generous and nice. And I know you don't want to crap on the guy. He's 18, and I love him. I think he could be an absolute superstar in the city based on his personality, his looks, everything. But there's something that just drives me crazy, and this one hand on the stick business. They watched film, right? Was he doing this back home? Because one hand on the stick. I mean, everyone must look at that, and it is just so easy.
But John, here's the deal:
how strong you are.
It's a habit, John. It's a habit that he had.
It's driving me crazy.
But John, it's a habit that he had. He was bigger and stronger than anyone else that he played with, pretty much. He was always bigger. He was always stronger. He could use one hand on the stick. He can get away with it. He's now playing in the league. That's the best league in the world with men, some of which who are as big as him, some of which who are as strong as him, some of which who are bigger, some of which who are stronger. All of them pretty much have more experience than him. And this is it's a bad habit, and he's going to have to break it. Look, you said I was nice. I mean, he's doing better in his rookie season at 18 than a lot of players who went on to have great careers. You know that Joe Thornton in his rookie season at 18 years old picked up 7 points. You realize that, eh? 7 points in 55 games. Slavkovsky is a better 18-year-old or a more productive 18-year-old than Joe Thornton was. If Slavkovsky ends up being Joe Thornton, I'm a pretty happy guy. Because Joe Thornton had multiple seasons of 100 points and was a number one centerman in the National Hockey League for 15 years.
I agree. And I really like Slavkovsky, and I want to see him do well. But I'm just surprised that a habit like that is so ingrained in him. I mean, he does it constantly. It doesn't.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. You know what? I go back. I listen to some of my shows. I watch some of my shows. There's certain things. Sometimes I pause. Sometimes I say Sometimes I say some words over and over and over again, like stuff like that. Stuff like I'll say that. Whatever. And I keep on saying to myself, okay, I'm going to break that habit. I'm going to change it. But it's easier said than done. It's the same thing. I understand one's hockey and one's radio, or one's hockey and one's podcasting. It's the same thing. It's an habit. It's a habit, and some habits are hard to break. That's it. That's all. It's going to be okay. He's 18 years old. He's playing in the National Hockey League.
Well,
At
the
18
day that
years
I
old,
see him
I
hold the
was,
stick
I
with
don't know what
two
I was
hands,
doing.
the day that he holds that stick with two hands, I'll feel really, really comfortable.
Yeah.
Because, you need two hands on your stick.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, Alfie Vega says Tony
And I
Stock.
love the guy. I really,
Yeah.
it's just a habit that drives me crazy, but I love him. I want to see him do well. He's going to be a mega star
Yeah.
in the city, you know?
Yeah. And now Alfie
You got it
Vega's
all.
trying
You
to
got the look, you got
trying to
the
tell me that
size.
they play different positions. Alfie Vega, I know that they play different positions, and Slavkovsky plays as a winger and Joe Thornton plays as a centerman. I was just talking about two 18-year-old players, rookies at 18, and how much one produced as an 18-year-old, how much the other one has produced so far, and the fact that one of them ended up having a great career in the National Hockey League as a number one centerman for 15 years. It was just an example of how hard it is to pick up points as an 18-year-old in the National Hockey League. John, the next time you come to Montreal,
All right.
I'm taking you out for lunch, you and the kids.
All right. Take care. And congratulations. It's great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All the best to you in the new year. All right. One more call I've been told from the guy who's the real boss of this podcast, Sammy Cavallaro. Where are we going, Sammy? Joel from RDP.
Yes.
Joel, what's going on?
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing extremely well. Extremely well. My nephew, by the way, has been seeing a young lady from RDP as of late. As a matter of fact, they're boyfriend and girlfriend. So we have a little bit of RDP in the family right now, like 1 foot in the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. We got some RDP.
I also want to give a shout out to Agnello and Sammy. They're doing a really good job. You know, I just want to say hi to them too.
Agnello and Sammy, fantastic job. Fantastic job. I'm going to the La Cage restaurant with them tomorrow for lunch.
Nice.
Yeah, what are you doing? You want to join us, or?
For sure. I just want to talk about. I'm really happy with the way things are going. That they're tanking organically, like you say, because they need to think about the future. Because this year they're really not going anywhere. That's the first thing I want to say. And one
Hold on a second. I just want to elaborate on what you said, because you said something very interesting when you said tanking organically. Even though we've said for the longest time that players don't tank, and they don't, okay? I need you to think about this, for example, all right? They had a line that was doing really, really well. Suzuki, Caulfield, and Kirby Dach, right? And ever since they broke them up, Suzuki and Caulfield aren't producing anymore, right? So what can you do? You can put Dach back on that line, correct? They haven't.
Yes.
That could be an organic tank. You understand? That could be saying, okay, you know what? Stuff's not working here. We got to fix that line to win hockey game. They're not fixing the line. They have a chance to fix the power play. They can make a change on the power play. They're not fixing the power play. So they have a chance to maybe bring some guys back from injury and stuff like that, bring them back a little bit sooner. They're not. These are things that you kind of do or don't do when you realize, you know what? Not winning this year is not the end of the world. You're in a rebuild. And so sometimes you take certain decisions, and sometimes you don't take certain decisions. This is called an organic tank. This is a rebuild.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yes, it's exactly what I was thinking. They're doing it the correct way.
Yeah.
So the way that they should do it. Not that because the players will always play to win. We know that. You know, they'll always do that. So it's the right way to do it. One more thing I want to speak about is Slavkovsky.
Yeah, tell me.
I think they're making a mistake with him, Tony. I understand that some people think he should be in the NHL, but from what I see, if he's going to play 9 minutes in the NHL, it's better if he goes to Laval. He plays the power play, the top lines.
But Joel, hold on a second though. He's not playing 9 minutes. All right, tonight I think he played 14 and a half. And I think in the last 7 or 8, he's averaged about 12 and a half minutes. So he's not. Having said that, I agree with you. And I said this before, and I'll give you an opportunity to weigh in again here. But I've said this before. I would have sent him to the World Juniors. And after the World Juniors, and I don't care how good or not he would have done at the World Juniors, I would have sent him to Laval. And then you want to know when I would have called him back up? In the last 4 or 5 games of the regular season, because it would have been my message to him would have been, Juraj, you're back in the National Hockey League now. You're finishing the year in the National Hockey League. Get ready in the offseason, because next year, this is where you're going to be. Where you're finishing is where you're going to start next year. You're starting back in the National Hockey League, and you'll be there. I would have sent him to the World Juniors. I would have sent him to Laval, and I would have brought him back to play the last handful of games in the National Hockey League in the month of April. That's what I would have done with him. I agree with you. I think they made a mistake.
Exactly. What do you think we're showing to him? We're showing to him that it's all right to be mediocre, which is not the sign that you want to give for a young player like that.
I think they have him here for two reasons, or three. Number one, I think they probably believe that the better development right now is being done at the National Hockey League system with Marty St. Louis and just working with him and I think they believe the better development is being done in the National Hockey League. Number two, I think they're probably worried that sending him down might negatively affect his confidence. And number three, and I know some people probably don't believe this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Number three, I think they're worried that if they send them to Laval, members of the media and or the fans will say, they got it wrong. They got it wrong. You see, they got it wrong. You see, they got it wrong. And they probably don't want that kind of conversation happening. Those are the reasons I believe he's here. I believe that this is probably the first mistake. And it doesn't mean I'm right, because in time here, I could be proven wrong. He might explode over the next couple of weeks. But right now, I feel comfortable in saying that I believe that this is probably the first mistake that the duo of Gordon and Hughes has made, or at least the first thing that I really, really don't agree with. I think they're getting it wrong. I think they're getting it wrong with Slafkovsky.
Especially that World Championship, because a young guy like that, he needed that experience.
Listen, the World Juniors, what's the worst that can happen? He goes there and he doesn't perform. Well, he's here, he's not performing. What's the difference? Like, what's the worst that could have happened?
That's exactly. He wouldn't have lost anything, but he would have gained the experience, which is something that only comes sometimes only once in your life that you can do that,
Yeah. So you listen, you and I, we agree. Now, can we bring in, we can't bring in Agnello here, but hold on a second. I'll probably bring in Agnello when we go. But Joe, if you want, Joe from RDP, if you're not doing anything tomorrow, you're invited to lunch. I just have to find out where we're going. Thanks so much for calling. I appreciate it. Listen into the program here, because I'm going to talk about where we're going tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, Tony.
Okay, thank you. Joe from RDP. All right. Agnello. Now I can get to Agnello and Sammy. Not so sure I could have got to them before. Agnello and Sammy, are you there? Where are we going tomorrow?
Casual Sport de Carry.
La Cage de Carry?
Yep.
At what time we're going to be there at exactly?
12 o'clock sharp.
12 o'clock sharp?
Yep.
If Joe from RDP is there, we can buy him a burger or buy him a sangria?
Lunch is on us.
Lunch is on us.
Yeah.
That's for Joe. The challenge now is if 100 people show up at La Cage de Carry tomorrow at 12, what do we do?
I think you should cover everybody's bill.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
You know what? I might just do that.
Okay. It's Christmas.
I might just do that. It's Christmas. Drop by and say hello tomorrow. And if you know what, let's just do this. 50 people or so, I'm willing to buy a beverage.
I'm in with you as well.
Or a sandwich or a burger. Up to 50 people. More than 50 people, it's going to put a little bit of a dent in the wallet. You know what I mean?
I'm in with you as well.
But up to 50 people, it's Christmas after all. It's Christmas, though.
Yeah.
We have to love each other. It's Christmas. All right. I'll see you and Sammy tomorrow. Okay, buddy?
Thank you. Good show tonight. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night. There you have it. Agnello and Sammy Cavallaro. Best bosses I've ever had. You want to know why? They're like bosses. They just, Tony, do your thing, man. We do our thing. You do your thing. I let them do their thing. They make me do my thing. That's it. They don't get that's it. They make me do my thing. That's all. I love these guys. Kelly says that she's in Toronto. Can I buy her lunch in Toronto? When you come down to Montreal, I'll take care of you, Kelly. I'll take care of you. It's another reason for you to come back to Montreal. You know what I mean? Come down to Montreal. Alex Terrace is coming tomorrow. La Cage de Carry at 12. There you go. Alex, no problem, buddy. You can even sit with me. No problem. You know what? Sit with me. Joe from RDP. I'm going to be with Agnello and Sammy. Come sit with us. No problem. At the end of the day, the goal of Mike is coming too. Mike, come. Might come, no problem. See, at the end of the day, we did this for the people. I worked in a studio, no cameras, no nothing for about 20 years. When I decided to do this full time, I did it with, you know what? People have a chance to see me. They'll be able to better connect with me and stuff like that. Let's give this show to the people. I want to be the man. Let's give it to the people. So you know what? You're invited tomorrow. It's not an official event tomorrow. Agnello and I and Sammy and I, we were just going for lunch tomorrow. But I figure, you know what? You're all like family to me. I'm going to be at La Cage de Carry tomorrow at 12. If you're going to be there, be very happy to see you. You can sit down. We can talk. We can talk about the Habs, talk about whatever you want. I'm even a marriage expert, by the way. I fix problems, this, that, whatever. I'm a therapist. Any advice that you need tomorrow, it's all free. Even your meal is on me. Could you imagine 500 people show up to La Cage de Carry tomorrow? Oh, my God. I have to take out a loan on the house. In the meantime, tomorrow night, same time, same place. Special thanks to 8.6 Beer, Intense by Nature, to Energy Transportation Group, and to La Cage for bringing you the Sick Podcast. To you, my Sick Army, I bid good night. Tomorrow, the Canadiens are in Florida versus the Panthers. Same time, same place for us. 10 p.m., the Sick Podcast. Joining me, Mitch Jaguar. He's been on before. This guy's a beauty, just like me. Have a sick night. Have a sick day tomorrow. I'll talk to you again tomorrow night. Same time, same place. Embrace the tank. I've been telling you that for a while. Connor Bedard, 7 points tonight. 3 goals, 4 assists. Bing, bang, boom. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.